relationships, sex, passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Welcome to Passion, a show all about love, sex, and relationships. I'm Dr. Laurie Betito. I'm a clinical psychologist and sex therapist. And tonight, we discuss the confessions of a chronically single girl. We could replace that with guy, too, but we've got girls in studio.
Over 20 years here at CJAD, you got to listen to that amazing program, Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. And that's our surprise for you this morning. Dr. Laurie's on the line. Hi, Dr. Laurie.
Hi. Wow, that's an old show. I'm thinking back. How many years back is that?
So can I ask you here, because how many years were you on air? Over 20 years, right, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, 22 years, and we did I counted about 5,000, over 5,000 episodes.
5,000 episodes, and every single one. I listened to so many of those. Why don't you just take me back to, being able to do sex talk, relationship talk about things that maybe you wouldn't normally associate with AM radio. Tell me about those years.
Oh, in the very beginning, so I started on our sister station, which is now, I guess, Virgin. Back then it was Mix 96, yeah. And we had a show, like a weekly show, and this was back 35 years ago. And it was a pretty cultish following back then, and it was very popular. It was way before we had, delays and we could monitor things properly. And then Rick Moffat at the time became the program director, and he asked me, he said, let's try it on AM. And I'm like, oh boy, this is like conservative. Is this going to fly? And we said, let's try it. I was a little skeptical, I must tell you. I wasn't sure that it was going to be well received. But much to our surprise, I guess, and much to my delight, people were lapping it up. They wanted to hear more about this. They wanted to, yes, people were listening to it in secret. I must tell you, a lot of people admit that to me. They would listen in their car. They would listen when they made sure nobody else was around. They rarely admitted that they listened, but they listened. So I knew that the material people wanted to hear, and I really wanted people to have quality science-based information. This was not to be like a salacious show. I really wanted it to be coming from an educational point of view.
And, I think that the time slot was perfect. And just, what you'd want maybe at that hour, right? If you're trying to wind down your day. Can I ask, did you ever get in trouble? Was there anything that made it to air where you're like, uh-oh?
Well, there were a few guests that were over the top, I would say, but never really got in CRTC trouble. No.
Okay. What about the boss? Forget about the CRTC. What about the boss saying, "Oh, Dr. Laurie, I listened to yesterday's show"?
It only happened, and this is an interesting story, and I hope I'm not outing anybody. But at one time, I was also in Toronto at the same time, so we were simulcast in Toronto, and Toronto's boss was very nervous about the topics I was talking about. So he would try to veto, no, you can't talk about that. No, you can't talk about that. Whereas the bosses in Montreal never once filtered me. They trusted me.
Toronto, those prudes in Toronto, they could ruin a good thing. I just give them an opportunity. Okay, so anyway, no issues from Montreal. I love that.
No, not really.
As you look back, is there anything that stands out from you on your time on air?
And there's, what I loved most was connecting with people, and during COVID, especially, the voice, instead of talking about sexuality, we started moving towards more mental health because people were really dealing and struggling a lot. It wasn't just their relationships that were struggling, but they were struggling individually and personally. So being that voice that was with them night after night was also really great to be able to reach, and people, being able to reach me. So I talked to a lot of people. There was one that stood out, which was years and years ago. It was a woman who called in, and she said, Dr. Laurie, I was listening to your show one day. We called in. I was a teenager. I was with a girlfriend. We were in serious trouble, and we were in a car. We were afraid we were going to be, I don't know what it was, but assaulted, whatever. And somehow they got a hold of me on the air, and I said, get out of the car right now. Like I was kind of walking them through what they should do. Wow. And years later, 20 years later, I get a phone call from those same women.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really touching. So, sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the impact that you can have. So sometimes getting that feedback is really important. And it kept me going. That's what keeps me doing this work.
Dr. Laurie, listen, I want to thank you for contributing to this program over the years, and still being part of the CJAD family. And I know you keep going on your podcast, Passion, so it's great to hear you there as well.
Yes, and I look forward to being on your show again.
Okay, Dr. Laurie, thanks for celebrating with us. Take care.
Happy birthday, CJAD.
Dr. Laurie Betito right there.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.